What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is Alex Tex K, and today we're going to go over my Shadow 2 peak performance maintenance routine that I perform week to week to ensure that my firearms run perfectly, whether it be training, teaching, or competing in the heat of competition. These few things that I'm going to show you now are based off a lot of unfortunate mishaps, malfunctions in the middle of matches, in the middle of training, guns going down, and me diving in and doing a lot of research and spending a lot of time to understand why and how I can prevent it. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I just shot a match this morning, and I'm going to clean one of my Shadow 2s and show you guys how I keep that thing running perfectly. Let's do it.
So the first thing you're going to need is a Dremel, a bit that will fit in your chamber, some flits, a razor blade or a knife if your bit is not small enough, a T20. I have a flathead to make taking off the takedown a little easier, some cleaning pads, Q-tips, a nylon brush, and some degreaser of choice. I use Simple Green, along with a bore snake and a bucket if you are doing this all in one area. My choice of oil is the Lukoil gun oil, the blue stuff. It works really, really well. I've been very happy with it, but let's get into the cleaning process. First thing you want to do is make sure your firearm is nice, clear, and checked in a safe area. Go ahead and line up your notches. And take a tool or magazine to punch it from the other side. As you can see, it's not always super easy to take off, even after 40,000 rounds. So what I like to do is take this little tiny flathead, stick it in there, and give it a pop. Drop the hammer, and pull the slide right off. Now I'm going to take your T20 and remove your grip panels, as well as a Magwell if you have one. And now that our frame is stripped, we're going to go ahead and take the degreaser and bucket, and we're going to give it a nice spray down. Take the barrel and do the same thing. The barrel is the most important part of this process here, as we will get into. You can still see the residue that's caked up inside, and that's just from one match. So we're going to do a standard cleaning on the slide. I do not put any degreaser into the slide on account of the fact that I have Loctite holding down the optics, and I don't want to deteriorate that Loctite and cause a possible problem with my optics. So I use a degreaser on everything but anywhere Loctite exists. Yes, there is red Loctite on the sear, but that is not going to degrade near as much from a little bit of degreaser, and I have not had any problems in 40,000 rounds. But just do your standard slide cleaning by hand. There's nothing really important here at the end of the day, outside of, if anything, making sure that you clean out that extractor, get any of the caked buildup gone and out of there. I use a pick to dig it out, and I do this every single time. I do not wait for it to get bad enough to cause a problem. And that is one of the big things here, guys, is I make sure that I dig out what needs to be dug out every single time, so it never creates a geometrical problem with the function of the firearm. So like I said, the barrel is the most important thing here. So anything related to the function of the barrel, the movement of the barrel, I want to make sure is nice and clean. As you can tell, I also do a little bit of polishing in there as I can. But that's a clean slide for the most part, and I like to be very, very sure. Now you're going to go ahead and back to the frame. You're going to pull it out of that bucket now that it's been soaking in the degreaser a little bit, and we're just going to give it a nice brush with a nice soft nylon brush. Do not use steel or brass or anything that could in any way, shape, or form change any kind of geometry. But I use these two brushes here to make sure that I can fit all the way down in there, all the way down to the mag catch, because I want to make sure that this slide is perfectly clean so no old residue builds up with new residue and creates an ugly mix. I have noticed with different types of powders and different types of projectiles that the dirt can be different, as well as the type of oil you use. So I try not to mix too many things in between cleanings because it may be introducing some sort of buildup that I am not accommodated to. So now that we got it brushed down, we're going to give it another spray down and set it back inside the bucket. Go ahead and clean your guide rod and recoil spring, because obviously, again, with the overall buildup. And let's get into the most important part of this whole process, and it is how I take care of the barrel. You may think you know what I'm about to do, but this is the surprise and the most common way to fix failure to extract problems on these CZ Shadow 2s. So we're going to go ahead and take the barrel, our Dremel, and our bit. And unless you have a bit that is the right size, I take a knife or a razor blade and I cut it down until it's going to fit. I put my flits on the bit itself and jam it in there. And then I will start polishing the inside of the chamber. Outside of the chamber, I also do the feed ramp and make sure that the loading of any round and the extracting of any round is going to be effortless. Now that you're here, take your bore snake and a rag, get it nice and clean, pull the snake through a couple of times, make sure you get all that polish out. And as you can see here, you now have a completely polished ramp and chamber for flawless extraction. Now that the top end stuff is pretty much done, go ahead and pull that frame out of the degreaser bucket. And I take an air gun and I actually blow everything out. I have never had an issue with it blowing any parts or springs out of the gun of any kind. I only run the air at around 40 to 50 psi. I'm not looking to blow the thing out of my hand, but I'm trying to make sure that everything inside of it gets blown out. I also know a sonic cleaner does this very well as well, but I don't have one, so this is what I do. Now that you got it all blown out good, I go ahead and take a microfiber towel and I pretty much just wipe it down, checking the towel periodically to make sure there's nothing more left to clean on the gun. I spit shine this thing every single time. I will tell you, oil and grime, when mixed, creates nastier grime. So outside of the normal maintenance stuff that I do with this barrel here, I do want to cover two things real quick that I have also done to ensure this outside of this routine. The first thing being the extractor. I did take it out and I filed down the contact face by about 0.2 millimeters to give it a little bit more of a hooking bite at the extraction, just to ensure a little bit better of a grab. I do not think this is absolutely necessary, but it was a nice thing to do and it has not hurt anything. Next to that, one of the big things with the Shadow 2 that you can really do right when you get it outside of all of these things is go get that barrel reamed to fit any kind of round that you may choose to use. Reaming it will create a little bit better of a lead into the rifling to allow for any overall length round to successfully be plunk tested into the barrel, in which tells you that you can run any possible type of ammunition you could want in these guns. Anything from reloads to semi-spec rounds to remanufactured reloads or your own custom makeups. But let's go ahead and put it back together now. Take that T20 and put your grip panels back. Go ahead and put everything back together correctly. Do not over torque those grip screws, guys. It does not take much for it to be tight. And although you may think it's a little loose, I've never had a grip come loose in the middle of a match, no matter how hard I'm running the gun. So just make sure that it's nice and snug. It does not need to be reefed. Those screws are not very big. The torque spec is no more than 18 to 20 inch-pounds. But let's go ahead and take our oil and let's get her oiled up. I put oil pretty much anywhere there is a wear mark or any area that could be polished. So you got there, you got your rails, your trigger bar on the sides where it rubs against the side of the frame, as well as the top of the trigger bar where the slide comes across it. I also hit the rails in the back near the safeties as I use the safeties in single action, and I hit the hinge on the hammer as well as where the slide impacts the hammer on every reset. Let's go ahead and take your slide. And again, the barrel's the most important thing to me, so I make sure anywhere that the barrel moves, it is going to move flawlessly. And this is what I do with the barrel primarily. I kind of put oil all over. Put it in my hands, even though it's a little redundant to where I'm trying to put it precisely, but I rub it all around. I make sure that whole barrel is completely oiled in every aspect because the whole thing moves within the firearm, and why not have that move effortlessly and flawlessly since that is what sends the bullet. Now that we got the barrel in and the recoil spring and guide rod, we're going to go ahead and do the final oiling, which is going to be on the slide here. And again, I get inside the rails as well as on the actual wear part of the rail. That way there is always oil in there and I'm never running her dry. Just like a car, why would you ever run a car with no oil? So running a gun dry just makes no sense to me as I come from the car world first. And in many, many years of running these guns extremely hard, I have never, ever, ever had an issue because of this. So I run my guns wet and it works really well for me, especially on all metal firearms. But now that we got it all oiled up, we're going to put it back together, line up those notches yet again to put the takedown back in or my nitro fin, give it a good rack, and boom. There you guys go. That is my full maintenance run on my CZ Shadow 2s.
And that is that, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And let me know if you want to see more things like this. But all in all, this routine has worked absolutely flawless for me since my last malfunction I had over a year and 40,000 rounds ago. So hopefully it does the same thing for you. Let me know. I'll see you guys next time.